I don't really know Sean Payton. I had one good hallway conversation right here in this building last year while Sean was working for Fox, doing our pregame shows on Sundays. I told Sean that I hoped he'd stay with us, but that he was born to coach football at the highest level. I always thought that Sean Payton had some Jimmy Johnson in him, and I am the biggest Jimmy fan. Sean, Jimmy, both born with what I call the leadership gene, the ability to command a pro football team, an NFL team, even though they didn't play at a high level. Both were just college football players. Both have that gift of being able to inspire fear and respect in a locker room loaded with NFL football players. So what Sean Payton did last week shocked and initially disappointed me, and then ultimately actually impressed me, and I'll explain why. Sean had just done his press conference with the Denver area media. Then he went straight into his office, followed by a friend of mine who I worked with long ago in Dallas, Texas, named Jarrett Bell, who has become the national NFL columnist for USA Today. I texted with Jared about this. Jared sat down, probably asking some pretty simple, basic questions. And Sean Payton had something he wanted to say, and he chose Jarrett as that conduit. He unloaded on what happened last year in Denver, and unfortunately, that required Sean Payton unloading on Nathaniel Hackett, now the ex-Denver Broncos football coach, a young man I first met when he was about 8 years of age because I was close to his father, Paul Hackett, who was then the offensive coordinator of my Dallas Cowboys. Paul went on to be a head coach, especially at USC, also at Pitt. So Nathaniel was raised the right way by a real live football coach, who, by the way, had been Joe Montana's coordinator in San Francisco, and Joe asked Paul to help induct him into the Pro Football Hall of Fame. I'm a big fan of Paul Hackett's, which obviously made me respect Nathaniel. But Sean Payton shocked me by breaking the coach's code and going after Nathaniel for what happened last year in Denver, calling it maybe the worst coaching job in NFL history. And you know what? Maybe it was. It did not work. Russell Wilson did not work with and for Nathaniel Hackett. Nathaniel had been a coordinator, been a successful coordinator, calling plays, you remember, in Jacksonville, as they had Tom Brady in New England on the ropes in the AFC Championship game a few years back. Nathaniel had been a favorite, obviously, of Aaron Rodgers in Green Bay. And obviously, when Denver chose Nathaniel to be their head coach, I think they thought that that would pave the way for Aaron to be their next quarterback, not Russell Wilson. I still believe that Pete Carroll in Seattle made a wise choice to cut bait with Russell Wilson when he did. It felt like Russ had become a little more of a celebrity than an NFL quarterback, a little more of a diva than a winner, and that he had become a little more trouble than he was worth as far as having to cater to his diva needs. So I was fine with that. I think Seattle proved that they could go on pretty well without him, even though it's hard to replace what Russell Wilson once was to that franchise. Let Russ cook. So here's what I believe happened. Obviously, Sean Payton came to his senses a couple of days later, walked back his comments, apologized to Nathaniel, apologized to Saleh, said, I'm going to call them both. They obviously see each other across the field week 5, October 8th, in a real game. But at one point, Sean said, maybe I still had my TV hat on, and maybe I went over the edge and acted more like a TV guy than an NFL coach. I disagree with that. I believe that Sean Payton knew exactly what he was doing because he had spent a year in television. The media is so powerful. The National Football League media can have such staggering impact that if you know how, you can use that media to your benefit and gain. And I believe that's what he chose to do at the expense of the Jets. And I think it hurt him to do what he did, but he thought that he had to do it to rebuild Russell's confidence. He needed to blame it all on Nathaniel so that Russ could heave a sigh and say, okay, I'm ready to start fresh under a guy who knows how to do it. Sean Payton knows how to coach quarterbacks. He's demonstrated that again and again. Now, he had a great one, obviously, but he made him greater. And however great Russ can be at this stage and age, he will be under Sean Payton. But the main message that Sean needed to send was, it was Nathaniel's fault. It was everybody's fault around Russ. I don't have a problem with that, as messy as it got. That's the correct message. I hope you enjoyed that video. You ready for more? Make sure you click that subscribe button for all the exclusive content from the Skip Bayless Show. And don't forget to check out the full episode of the show wherever you get your podcasts by clicking the link in the description.